Before we dive into the blood-soaked madness of this 88 film slasher classic collection review, a quick heads up for listeners and viewers alike. These episodes come straight from the podcast Under the Stairs archives, recorded before the launch of the YouTube channel and long before video podcasts became part of the show. These reviews were originally crafted purely for audio. So if the production feels a little rougher around the edges or a little more stripped back than current episodes, that's because you're hearing the show in its earlier form, raw, passionate, and let's be honest, a little waffly at times. Whether you're revisiting these reviews or discovering them for the first time, please sit back and relax and enjoy this trip through the golden age of mass killers, inventive gore, and VH era nightmares. This podcast is not safe for work and will feature movie spoilers. It will feature scenes described of a graphic nature. It will contain language which most listeners may find offensive. Welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. Hi everyone and welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. This is your Sunday 88 Films Slasher Classic series of reviews. I'm your host Duncan. Welcome to the show. Another landmark on this episode as we hit disc number 40 in the collection. After the first break we'll be turning our attention to Student Bodies. Before we get to that, as always, let's catch up, shall we? This has been a pretty interesting week for podcasts Under the Stairs. Tons of stuff coming out, tons of stuff out there for you to check out, which is obviously the more important thing overall. But yeah, I hope you've had a good week catching up with us Under the Stairs, whether it was starting right back on Monday, listening to myself and Derek review 13 Ghosts from the William Castle at Columbia box set, through to a little bit of interview action on Thursday when I sat down with Russell Owen chatting about his new upcoming movie, which hopefully will be hitting theatres this year, called Shepherd. Some British horror coming its way for you. Keep your eyes peeled for that trailer, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Or it was yesterday when we sat down and looked at Hunted, a new title on Shudder. Hopefully you have been suitably entertained. Now, what is left is this episode here before we kick into another week of podcasting, and next week the hits just keep on rolling as we swing into tomorrow with the last disc in the first box set of Forgotten Jolly. That's right, we are swinging our way right into a little bit of trauma action. We will also be doing an interview with Jill Six on her movie The Stylist, which is about to drop on the Arrow streaming channel and Blu-ray in June. You will get some more Shudder action and an Arrow video assortment. So there you go. So let's get into this, shall we? We're going to take a very short break right now. You're going to hear promos for shows that I love. You're going to hear the trailer for Student Bodies. When we return, we're discussing that movie right after this.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try...
They must be destroyed on sight!
The new Podcast Cure-All, sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of...
They must be destroyed on sight!
As needed, and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Hello, it's me, the heavy breather from every horror film you've ever seen. You know me. First I terrorize my victim by the telephone. Then I choose my murder weapon. A gun? Nah, too easy. A hatchet? Nah, I always use a hatchet. For this movie, I want something very frightening and deadly. Then I climb the stairs to surprise my victims. Why do they always live upstairs? This movie's a comedy, so killing's not so easy. Sugarless. The movie's called Student Bodies, so I picked a typical American high school.
This is Mr. Peters, your principal.
Mr. Peters! You're naked!
Yes, Toby. All these years I've been secretly naked underneath my clothes.
Meet the rest of the faculty. The shop teacher, the guidance counselor, the janitor with the IQ of a handball.
What's he doing?
Sex education teacher.
This is totally unnecessary, ugly, and gets in the way.
Your mother?
She also told me that sex was bad and dirty, but only with my father. With everyone else, she said it was great.
I'm into murder myself, and student bodies are going to be everywhere.
Dead bodies downfield. 15-yard penalty.
See Student Bodies, a killer comedy.
And welcome back. So you've just heard the trailer for disc number 40 in the 88 film slasher classic collection. This one is Student Bodies from 1981. Weirdly enough, I've been walking around all week saying 83. I don't know where I've plucked 83 from, just like out my ass, most likely. The synopsis for this one is listed on the 88 Films website as any self-respecting slasher buff will know Paramount Pictures hit pay dirt with their all-time teen kill classic, Friday the 13th from 1980. Yet, when the time came to capitalise on the same cycle that the studio instigated, the Brain Trust opted to take a more satirical turn, and the result was Student Bodies, unleashed in cinemas in 1981. Dubbed as the world's first comedy horror film, Student Bodies won an instant and eternal fan following for its effective nods to the series of slice and dice Denzians, including Halloween from 1978, The Voorhees Mythology, and Prom Night from 1980. Long before Scream in 1996, this was the original movie that asked audiences to tick off the tributes, and with its tongue firmly planted in its cheek, Student Bodies remains a righteous viewing experience. Class is in session and everyone is invited to enjoy the latest and probably greatest addition to the 88 Films Slasher Classic Collection. On this disc, the special features are a high-definition Blu-ray 1080p presentation. You have some DTS HD MA soundtrack and optional English subtitles, audio commentary with Justin Kerswell, author of Teenage Wasteland, The Slasher Movie Uncut, and part of the Hysteria Continues podcast team. You've got Back to School, Kim Newman on Student Bodies, an interview with film critic Kim Newman. Theatrical trailer, reversible sleeve, and the technical specs are that this disc is region locked to region B. The picture format is HD 1781. Audio format is DTS HD MA 2.0 stereo, language is English, subtitles English, certification 18, runtime 1 hour 25 minutes. So, this was a first viewing for me. Interestingly enough, I thought I'd seen Student Bodies before, but I think I might be getting it confused with Slumber Party Massacre. In fact, I'm almost entirely, infinitely sure that I've got this one confused with Slumber Party Massacre. So, sitting down to watch this one, very quickly did I realise that this was not the movie that I thought I was getting. And in some respects, that's a good thing and a bad thing. I'm not the biggest fan of Slumber Party Massacre. I think that movie's okay. So with that kind of removed, I was like, oh, there's a chance that I might gravitate more to this one. And let me just put my cards on the table. I think Student Bodies is a surprisingly well-made movie, considering it is more... It's interesting that they do the long before Scream. This movie to me feels more in line with like the Scary Movie franchise than it necessarily does with what Scream is doing. And it's very easy to drop the old, well, it's a meta thing, so it must be referring back to Scream, even though that movie would come, 15 years after this? It's a weird thing to shove in your blurb. 88 films. I'm looking at you confused. But, I mean, these sort of kind of horror comedy pastiches have existed for quite some time now. You'll have to go back and check out what they were doing with Abbott and Costello. Way back in the day with the Universal classics to see, there was already the idea of horror comedy films, which took a more comedy attitude or comedy leaning to the horror subject matter. So once again, maybe giving this movie a little bit more credit than it deserves. I mean, it is a slapstick, well constructed, relatively well acted, tongue is definitely planted in cheek experience of a movie, but the humour just kind of landed flat for me. I was speaking about this yesterday with Bo when we were recording Duncan and Bo Come Correct, and what I'd said to him was that my biggest regret is having not seen this movie like late 80s, early 90s, when I would have been of age to, reasonably sit down and get most of the jokes in it. I feel that I've missed out on a fair, independent viewing experience in my younger years of this movie. Coming to it so late in the day, a lot of the humour just doesn't necessarily work for me, or it's just jokes I've seen done probably off the back of movies which have been inspired by this, but just movies that I've done this since. So as a result, the jokes kind of fall a bit flat. They're all perfectly put in place. The setups are good. The execution is surprisingly good. The kills are surprisingly fun. But it just didn't resonate with me at all. I really struggled to get any purchase on any character that I was supposed to like. And some of the performances are so ingrained in the stereotype of which they're portraying, they become nauseating to watch. And as a result, the movie just kind of trundled on with me rolling my eyes a lot. And like I say, if you love this movie and I'm critiquing this movie in a way that you feel is unfair, that is not my intention. This is one of the few ones where I will sit here and say I fully acknowledge that this should have been higher for me, or this should have been a better viewing experience. It just didn't grab me that way at all. Recently we watched that movie Slaughterhouse Rock, which I think has a sense of humour and does a lot of what this movie's doing. Granted, it comes in the week of it, but does it a lot better. It leans more into the horror, gives me a bit more of that. This movie doesn't really have that. It's like, on some level, it's like Porky's meets Friday the 13th, but with neither the charm, the wit, or the sleaze of those two movies stuck together in a brindle fly machine. I understand. Like I say, I fully understand and appreciate there will be a hardcore following for this movie. I wish I could join yous. I really, really do. This is one of these ones that I was actually bummed out by at the end, where I personally felt I should have liked it more than I did. But yeah, like I say, it just fell a bit flat for me, which isn't always the case for horror comedies. I'm usually like, the comedy stuff doesn't always have to work for me to still really enjoy the movie, but in the case of this one, it was probably its biggest hindrance to me, in that it just didn't come across as funny. So by the time it finished, I was kind of just like, eh. I mean, it is still a really well crafted movie. My grade will reflect that, but it's not a movie I can see me rushing back to unless I've got some friends round and some beers. I think that might maybe remove the stick from my ass, so to speak, and allow me to enjoy it a bit more than I did. But yeah, I don't really have much more to say about this movie. Kind of bummed out. I bummed myself out on this one because I was starting to get kind of giddy, and I'm sure, like I say, that there's a hardcore following out there that are prepared to tell me that I just lost my sense of humour on this viewing. Maybe a second viewing, different light, different world context than we're in just now. Maybe it gravitates a bit more to me, but Yeah, it just didn't do much for me at all. In terms of a grade for the movie, I think I should be fair. I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's not poorly constructed. I did like it. I just didn't go above that. So a 3 out of 5 for Student Bodies seems fair. Right, I'm going to take my final break of this episode. When I come back, I'm closing out the show, and I'm doing it right after this. And you've been listening to the podcast Under the Stairs. This has been your Sunday 88 films slasher classic collection of reviews. We're looking at disc number 40, Student Bodies. In 3 weeks' time, we will be returning back to the collection for disc number 41. One that I'm very excited about, one that I've seen a few times. I own the Scream Factory Blu-ray of this, so I'm interested to put them side by side to see how this one stacks up from 88 films. But this is Jamie Lee Curtis in Terror Train. The blurb is: take a train journey into terror with Jamie Lee Curtis in this classic slasher film from the director Roger Spottiswoode of Tomorrow Never Dies. It's New Year's Eve and a bunch of college co-eds have planned a masquerade bash aboard a chartered train. What they didn't plan for was a knife-wielding psycho would crash the party and begin slaughtering the guests one by one. Who is this mysterious costume killer? Could it be the magician David Copperfield with a talent for swordsplay? A former frat pledge with an axe to grind? Or any number of guests, both invited and uninvited? Also starring Academy Award winner Ben Johnson from 1971, supporting actor of The Last Picture Show, and Hart Bochner of Die Hard, and Dee Winters of 52 Pickup. The special features on this are a high-definition Blu-ray 1080p presentation. It's remastered by 88 Films with extensive restoration to remove dust and sparkle, DTS HD MA mono soundtrack, optional English subtitles, audio commentary with the Hysteria Continues podcast team, audio commentary with the king of schlocky bobbins, Dave Wayne and Matty Budritz, can't pronounce his name, all aboard. An interview with production designer Glenn Bidwell, Destination Death with producer Daniel Grodnick, Murder Music with composer John Mills Cocknell, Riding the Rails with production executive Don Charmody, Stills Gallery, TV Spot, Reversible Trailer and Reversible Sleeve. Technical specs, region lock to region B. Picture format is HD 1781. Audio format is DTS HD MA 2.0 dual mono. Language is English. Subtitles English. Certification 18. Runtime 1 hour 36 minutes. So we will be doing Terror Train in 3 weeks' time. I'm very excited. I saw it for the first time when I got the Scream Factory Blu-ray a few years ago. I've watched it twice and both times I've really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to swinging back to that. There's a multitude of ways to check out the show. Wherever you're listening to us right now, hit subscribe. That way you get access to all the shows from Under the Stairs as well as the extensive back catalogue. Subscribing to the Teapots Collective also gets you access to the shows that I do on that feed, like Where to Begin With, Doing the Nasty, Opera Omnia and Chronicle. You get access to those back catalogues for those shows as well, so it couldn't be any easier. Why not check us out? Our website is teapotscast.com. Our merch page is teapotscast.bigcartel.com. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/groups/teapotscast. You can check out the Teapots Collective on Facebook at facebook.com/teapotscast. Reach out and interact with myself and the Baz on the twin prongs of social media sexiness. Instagram and Twitter both can be followed at teapotscast. The podcast Under the Stairs will return for you tomorrow as we sit down and look at Trauma, the final disc of box set number 1 of The Forgotten Jolly. Myself and Dave James Parker will be reviewing that movie for you. And until then, wherever you are, whatever the time zone is and whatever you're up to in this big bad world of ours, please take care of yourselves out there. This is Duncan McLeish broadcasting live from Under the Stairs and I am signing off.